Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about how the day has come. The day our teachers warned us about how this Hollywood industry wouldn't last. And the day has come. And they warned us about this all the time. Mm-hmm. They would nag us all the time about this. Yeah. And we would be like, no way. Well, everybody, the time has come. And we're going to share what they basically said happened to them back when they were coming up and the parallels between that time and now.
Mm-hmm. And how we should learn from their mistakes and prepare for it.
Lots of people on their way to making the same mistakes again, that's for sure.
Oh, yes. But before we get into it, make sure to smash the like button
over there. So this is going to be one of those episodes where we're going to be making a lot of predictions.
Mm-hmm. And how we're making them based off of data and observations and facts of what's currently happening and has been happening for a while now. And
to our best reasoning, what we think will happen. And if you haven't known some of these things that we're about to share with you, these things that you don't know.
Yeah, about the Hollywood news, I guess. So, our teachers back in the day, when we were in school, they would share a lot of anecdotes and stories about when they were working professionals, artists, or currently working professionals. And our teachers were working when back in the day when illustrators still illustrated.
Yeah, so it's very similar to what's happening right now, or what has happened. Like people who, got into this big studio and they're an artist and they're like celebrated and all this stuff, right? Back then, it was sort of the same thing, but instead people were celebrated for the amazing movie posters that they've done, and people
advertising,
exactly. And people would go to a school like Art Center to really, really, they really wanted to be in that market, right?
Yeah. And, like all the Mad magazine illustrators were celebrated, and movie poster people.
Like Drew Struzan.
Yeah.
Like
and a lot of people who were in print media at the time, and slowly magazines and advertising started using a lot more photography and digital stuff that didn't require an artist to paint or draw anything. So, as they like to tell us all the time, that their industry, one that paid them well, they also gave them some semblance of fame and success and glory and all these things, they saw that it was dying.
Yeah.
And there were some people who were, I guess, in denial or had a hard time dealing with the change and were like, no, this would never go away. So they made their bet and for the life of clutched to this job, this industry that was dying. Whereas some other people followed the money, and they went where they would get paid to draw, because they're not getting work anymore. So where did they go? They went to Hollywood and animation. And they would always tell us back in the day that anyone who could draw was basically hired right away.
They were in like that.
Yeah. It wasn't popular to work in Hollywood, to be basically a sellout.
People, would chagrin you. Yeah, they say all sorts of stuff about you.
Yeah. But it paid the bills, and the people that jumped ship early got paid a lot of money, because they went where they were gonna get paid a lot more later on. Yeah. And so learning from that, I think most people have a hard time with change, regardless of what kind of person you are, who you are, whatever. Change is scary, and most people try to resist it as best as they can. So a lot of artists had a really, really hard time in the transition. And from that experience, they always told us in school, I know you guys really like this animation thing.
But you should take expressive typography. You need to learn about these illustrators. And we would go, but why? We just want to work in Hollywood. We just want to work in animation. And they would say stuff like, well, you never know what's going to happen. What if Hollywood doesn't like what if there aren't as many opportunities, or what if like Hollywood is just not a thing anymore? What are you going to do about that? It's a long life, we say all the time.
Yeah.
So you should be prepared. You should have like a large toolkit so that you could survive as an artist. You don't want to just rely on one industry for your entire arthood.
That's exactly why when we went to art center, went to school, our program was not geared towards entertainment. Or it's not like CalArts, for example, where they basically train you to be a cog in Disney's wheel.
And nothing else.
Nothing else, yeah.
Absolutely nothing else.
Which, like, if you ever compared the two curriculums, you'll see the difference. We as illustrators,
But CalArts does a very good job
at what they do.
Doing,
Yeah.
if you want to do that, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know.
So CalArts has a lot more industry animation specific stuff, whereas we, like, as illustrators are trained completely differently. We have some graphic design skill sets, so some branding skill sets. We paint and we draw, and we tell stories. So, and on top of all of that, you can choose whether or not you want to get into video or motion graphics and all these other things. So that makes us, most people who graduate Art Center, jacks of all trades. And we can kind of do everything if we had to.
Kind of fit ourselves into any industry if we needed to, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So especially in illustration, it's such a broad field that they want you to pick particular tracks and things to specialize in. But at the end of the day, there are some foundational things that we all kind of know. So, like, if we wanted to go from children's books to animation to advertising to whatever, we could do that because we were trained with that skill set. Whereas like CalArts is like, I think most people there come out as like board artists or directors. Yeah. They want to become directors. So very much fewer people come out of CalArts as painters, for example, or like biz dev artists or designers. That's kind of rarer.
And versus true for Art Center too.
Yeah. It's not so common for us to be board artists, directors types, particularly because we have to spread ourselves so thin and learn all these things.
I always like to compare us to mercenaries.
Yeah.
We kind of just fit into any battle, where we kind of, we can do graphic design. We can even do photography if we wanted to.
Yeah. And so like every school kind of has their thing. It's just up to you to research that stuff and to figure out what that school is known to produce.
So, for example, other schools like
SVA, I think, is more towards like comics. Or like Parsons, I know they have a really good fashion program. So like different schools have different things that if you know exactly what you want, you'll probably be more suited to that. But when you're so young, you don't know. And
I think, okay, so maybe it's hard for some people to understand. It's sort of like, I hope this analogy works. It's like you go to UCLA for medicine, I think.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
You go to UCLA for medicine. You don't go to UCLA for film.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing it wrong. You go to USC,
for
George
film.
Lucas, Coppola, like you go to that school. It's the same in other schools. If your mission is one thing, but the school's kind of strong suit is something else, maybe that's something you should think about.
Yeah, like you go to Yale for law, or whatever. So our teachers would always say, because of what happened to them, because they came up in that time, and they're like, yeah, I get that you're obsessed with this Hollywood animation thing. You want all fame and glory. Oh, okay, whatever. But it might just
I can hear them.
Yeah.
I can hear them, like vivid memories. And then like especially the illustration teachers like going, oh, these people,
like
these
the
students.
idiots, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make the similarities between what they were talking about, print media and magazines and all that stuff, and Hollywood and movies
Yeah.
and TV when you're in it,
So-
especially like 6 years ago, 10 years ago.
Let me frame it for what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think I shared in a story before why I got into Art Center. I wanted to choose Art Center because I had like a relative dating somebody from DreamWorks, and I was just super inspired by his stuff, right? So at that time, it was DreamWorks versus Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
And Janet, everybody who is in our like age demographic, around like, late, I can't believe I'm saying this, late 20s now.
Yeah.
Anybody in that demographic is going to relate to the idea that like, that was an awesome time. Wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
With like Toy Story and the first Dragons and seeing Up for the first time, Incredibles, and seeing the first two Shreks. You really like Shrek?
I did. I grew up like that. DreamWorks was like my Disney.
So that was our childhood.
Yeah.
It was that we go to the movies and see that, and we wouldn't really watch American cartoons. We'd watch anime.
Yeah.
But like we still appreciated these amazing, like The Incredibles. We love that movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
And we want, like I shared in that story, I wanted to be a part of that whole experience. So that's why I chose Art Center. And at that time, Art Center was not cool with the school becoming that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Please explain, because it's totally different now. They've totally like bought into it now.
I think all the schools
All
have,
schools. So
yeah.
please explain. Yeah.
Well, back then, Art Center was still like, it was known for what it was known for. And at the time...
And explain what it was known for. It's kind of known for being like, where really awesome illustration people come from.
Yeah, I mean, their graphic design department was really strong. Transportation, car design. Their industrial design department in general has always been really like renowned. And illustration, less so. But, we had Drew Struzan and like these amazing advertising people. But at the time, because illustration in particular was still very kind of that era of like, oh, we really want to make the next Drew Struzan in terms of illustration. Whereas there was a department created called Entertainment Design, which is kind of a mix between illustration and industrial design. So people who knew how to build and design cars and motorcycles and products and these kind of things, you combine those like more sciencey skills, I guess, with the arts, and it was meant mainly for live action / video games,
right.
because in live action there's a lot of roles that include, like, if you're a designer, sometimes you also you build the thing. So someone who designed the Batmobile might also be required to know how it's built, or at least design it so it's practically able to be built and used. And so that's why it's more like live action / video games. And of this department, it was very selective and very prestigious and all this stuff.
Yeah, what I love is that that department has really changed.
Yeah.
But when we were at school, fuck that department, man.
If you guys are from Art Center and you're listening now and you're in entertainment design, we love you, but like some of you are assholes.
Like, seriously, fuck you. Seriously.
You're so mean.
Yeah.
And elitist, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
So they it was kind of like the only piece of Hollywood in the school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only like department or group of people that served Hollywood specifically, and it was very small. And but it was growing really fast.
Yeah, I know younger audience members are probably like, I don't understand, but like back then, it was very rare to be a artist working in Hollywood. That just was like, not like a popular job.
It's not as common, I guess.
Right.
I think most people didn't know of these roles, and it's only fairly recently become popularized with, I think, our generation of people at that time. And now, like, everyone knows the word viz dev, everyone knows character, they know all these terms. Back then it was more niche, I think. Less people knew how to work in Hollywood. How do I do that? So these people, they came up at like the perfect time. The absolute perfect time, because before, like we said, we grew up with DreamWorks and Pixar. We didn't grow up with Disney.
Yeah. So here's one of my favorite stories to tell. Disney sucked. Disney fucking sucked back in the day. No one saw but no one saw, what is it? Meet the Robinsons, and no one saw Bolt. These weren't the movies that were making, that were just like winning the hearts of people. It was How to Train Your Dragon. It was Shrek. It was Up. All of these, Incredibles, all these movies. Disney was only, I don't know, the only success they were getting was sort of like their shared success with Pixar.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, it would peeve me when I was younger to be like, oh, I saw that Disney movie. I'm like, no, it's not a Disney movie, it's a Pixar movie. I had to make that differentiation because Disney truly they weren't making those movies.
Yeah.
Pixar was making those movies. No one really thought Bolt was great. Princess and the Frog was, people liked it, but it didn't garner as much love, praise, and adoration than Tangled.
Yeah.
Tangled was the beginning of Disney's comeback story.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, that era, it was like a good 3 to 5 years. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. I have to it was because all my life, I think I saw Hunchback Notre Dame at the El Capitan when I was I don't know, fucking 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 8 and reaching preteen years, no Disney movie was popular.
No.
None of them were.
It would be weird. It would be like, oh, you watched that kids movie? Why?
Yeah, but then for some reason, adults really enjoyed Pixar and DreamWorks movies because at the time they were aware that adults like to watch movies, and you have to cater to them.
Yeah.
And you don't just pander to the kids like they just do. That's all they do now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I getting too ranty?
No.
Okay. So when I was getting into Art Center, there were so many people starting to get hired, starting to this person got picked up by DreamWorks, this person got picked up by Sony. Sony's making these movies, and oh, have you heard of Leica? Do you know what Leica is? All of these things were happening as we were coming up at school.
Yeah, and I guess to give you a perspective of what it was like, during this period of time where Disney was having their comeback and DreamWorks was making a lot of great movies like Kung Fu Panda,
right?
How to Train Your Dragon
Part 2 was coming out,
and Pixar was always starting to become lauded as oh, the next Pixar movie is coming out. It felt like this upward hill of fame, and this industry is starting to really pick up steam and grow, and all these people are suddenly paying attention to it as a lucrative thing. I can be a part of that, and you see a lot of people getting hired for it and then celebrated for getting hired into these studios. The schools would be able to prop up their own brand by saying, we made this person.
Right. So like I said, people got hired and the school noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And the school gets to say, oh, this person graduated from our school and they're working on Tangled, something like that. Or the next, I don't know, maybe Kung Fu Panda, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that makes students like us, kids like us, who are just growing up in this time where all the movies were reaching this crazy peak, that I want to be a part of that.
Because we were a little bit behind that. because we witnessed this, and that's why like people I think don't understand. If you didn't grow up in this time, you don't understand our weird like rose colored lens.
Yeah, we our people our age love animation because of what I'm trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
Watching Up in theaters or watching How to Train Your... When I decided to be in entertainment arts, which is like you explained, there's a track for specifically live action movies. Entertainment arts was this brand new track, like barely a thing.
Yeah.
When we got into Art Center, barely a new thing. Now it's a juggernaut, but like it was barely a thing, and that track was supposed to help you become a great artist to fit in like a DreamWorks setting or a Pixar setting.
Yeah, specifically animation. Not at all the same skills you need for live action or even video games.
Right.
So we witnessed a lot of celebrity worshiping, for lack of a better word, where these people who, you know, in any other time would not be celebrated to be working in Hollywood, and oh great, they got a job in Hollywood, congratulations, they're working alumni. It's always good to have. But there's something about that time where the Chris Oatley podcast, like what came out and was starting to pick up a lot of steam.
Right. The Oatley podcast came out when I was like halfway through Art Center, and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah, because it was like the only one.
Yeah, it was the only one, and his podcast was like, oh, this is the life. This is what they do. This is amazing.
That podcast, along with things like CTN, really sold this brand of what it was to be a quote-unquote rock star
of animation.
And that's, you know, I feel really bitter about that because, you know, if they painted the picture accurately, which is what we're trying to do, we're not rock stars.
No.
We just make cartoons for these big corporations, and it kind of is soul-sucking. Like, that honestly, that is what it is. That's what it is. If it was sold to me like that, I'd be like, okay, great.
At least I know what I'm getting into, right?
Yeah, at least I know this is a job, and this is, like, not that great of... Like, it was sold to us like it was, I don't know, like, we're going to be worshipped, we're going to be, like, we have all this fame and fortune, and everyone's going to admire us, and all these things.
Man, don't you think, in retrospect, it was so foolish of us to think that this Hollywood thing would last?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
I was like thinking that just now. I was like, come on, young Vincent. Come on, young Janet. How long do you think how long do you think this is going to stay popular? Do you think this might be still a thing in 10, 20, 30 years? What if it's a completely new thing? But I don't know. When we were kids, we were like, oh, this is going to be it forever.
Yeah, like, how could it?
How
like,
could
it's
it?
so big.
And our teachers would hint at us and jab all the time because I'm sure, like, they know what's going on, and they're like, we don't want you to end up like paying so much money and ending up a bum in the streets because you didn't know what to prepare for.
Yeah, people who can't transition during those times kind of end up struggling for money. And they saw that, and they're like, we don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
If I can give you anything as a teacher, that is like the most important thing. And so we didn't come up during that time. We saw other people being celebrated and applauded for like working in these studios and getting lucky and all this stuff. So we came a little bit after, and so it felt like this like hill, and then there was a point where there was kind of like a peak, and then what it feels like in retrospect is it feels like we came in around like the downward turn, where it seemed like it's all coming to like a hot peak, and now it's slowly starting to simmer down.
Yeah, so you tell your coworkers at Disney all the time when you were back there that this was going to happen.
Yeah, like, so about 6 months to a year before I left, we had this conversation after like a town hall meeting, and they were like griping about Disney's, plans for the future and everything. And they're like, I don't trust this all that much. It doesn't seem hopeful. They would simultaneously say that, and then I'd be like, yeah, they're gonna crash soon. And then they're like, and this is like height of Star Wars, height of Marvel.
Like, I think Endgame is coming out.
Mm-hmm, yeah. As I'm saying this.
Yeah.
And they're like, Janet, you're crazy. Disney's too big to fail.
And you know what? You say that now, and we say that now. We weren't sure. That was just...
I was kind of sure.
Okay. But like, objectively, it was a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
It was a prediction.
Yeah.
It genuinely was a prediction.
And the reason is because, I am observant. I think when you're in it, you kind of drink the Kool-Aid a little. So I understand. My coworkers were like, I think Disney's too big to fall. They're basically they have a monopoly on everything. How could it be? I'd be like, well, the bigger you are, the harder you fall. And I already could see once Endgame is done, once
Star Wars is done.
Yeah. Then what?
Yeah.
So I was like, what do you think is going to happen?
And we're learning right now that they barely cobbled Star Wars together.
Yeah.
They had no plan at all. Daisy Ridley said so herself. Like,
yeah. But, back then when we were coming in, we felt it like waning a little bit, like the popularity of movies and TV shows, and people didn't gather around the TV like they used to, mm-hmm. I guess, or they didn't talk about like the new movie like they used to, the new animated movie like they used to. And then we have now. And now, if you're not aware, Hollywood, in my opinion, is officially dying.
And that's not an opinion.
No, because we have some facts and some proof if you don't believe us. Yeah.
So,
I think last weekend, or maybe last weekend,
the Emmys happened.
The Emmys happened. Did anyone watch that?
No. In fact, I had no idea the Emmys happened until the day after, on the Monday. I was like, oh, wow.
And so the ratings, the viewership of the Emmys was about 6 million. And
that seems like a lot.
No,
oh.
It's so little. It's so little people watching, because I'm going to, compare it to other numbers later. But if you compare it to, okay, let's give you an example.
Okay.
In the 2000s, 21 million people watched the Emmys.
What?
Yeah. That was like, almost 20 years ago?
Really?
By now? Yeah. Versus today, 2020, 6 million. In 2010, we had 13 million people watch the Emmys. So it was cut practically in half. So every 10 years, you lose like half of your viewership.
What are you doing? There must be something you're doing wrong.
Yeah. So if most of you probably didn't watch the Emmys, because no one watched the Emmys, why, you're asking yourself, why? Why is no one watching the Emmys? Why is Hollywood dying? And it's because Hollywood does not care about you. Hollywood doesn't have your best interest in mind.
Explain.
So what I mean is, look at Netflix's latest controversy, Cuties. Apparently, we all are okay with pedos now. With pedos. Like is... Shame on you, everyone who works at Netflix.
I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that happened. I can't believe it was released. I can't believe it's still up. Is it still up?
Yeah.
I just can't believe any of this.
Yeah.
I just can't. But yeah, sorry. Continue. I just think it's unbelievable as somebody who who knows people who work there.
And I don't understand why we must die on this hill. Because
trust me, there's no we in this for sure.
Yeah. I don't know why. And honestly, like, I don't care if you say, well, I work in animation. I don't have any responsibility. I'm sorry. Yes, you do, and I will explain later. But like, yeah, Netflix decided to have cuties, and they just won't. Like, I don't know why they want to die on this hill.
Well, I mean, they're a big corporation. They'll be okay, right?
Well,
Oh.
I have some numbers for you. Because they won't do anything about it, and apparently we're all supposed to be okay with
With that
pedos.
material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is disgusting. Netflix lost $9 billion in one day in the stock market. And in the month of September so far, ever since Cuties came out, Netflix has 8 times more than the usual cancellations.
That's a lot.
Like, everyone is canceling their Netflixes during Corona time,
where you would think you would need a service like that, right?
where no one is doing anything.
Yeah.
They're at home bored out of their minds, and they're canceling their Netflix accounts. But then
There's more?
Yeah, there's more, because again, Hollywood is Hollywood as a group, as a thing, as a monolith. It's not just Netflix, okay? Netflix isn't the only one that has their fair share of controversies lately in
really?
entertainment news.
Who else?
Disney,
Oh.
because of Mulan.
Oh, what's wrong with Mulan? It seems to be a great action-adventure movie. Great for the family. $30 on Disney Plus. Go. Do it.
Disney
And
Plus
that's what's
membership and $30.
Oh, jeez.
Well, in order to explain this properly, because when we first started dating, you didn't know any of this.
Yeah, so you explained this to me, and I have to say to our audience, it frightened me because I believe you.
Yeah, because I'm Chinese.
Yeah.
Of Chinese heritage, if you didn't notice. Yeah, you... And, I don't blame you. I just kind of realized that's kind of what the normal human knows about it, who like, doesn't care, just into their art or whatever. They just never thought about it.
I mean, I'm just like, oh, look at the Beijing Olympics. That was great. The opening was amazing. I can't believe they corralled so many people to do those amazing things. What a great country.
Meanwhile, I saw that and I was terrified.
Why were you terrified?
How were they able to corral so many people to do so many amazing things all in unison? So the Chinese government is not a kind government, and they have these things called concentration camps.
What?
Where they are currently housing the Uyghur Muslims, which are Chinese Muslims, basically. And yeah, they're concentration camps. And you'd think, like, oh, this is a fairly recent thing if you're aware of, the news. First of all, do any of you pay attention to history in general? Or even like fairly recent history? Even before the Uyghur camps were discovered, the fact that concentration camps exist in 2020, it kind of blows my mind. But even before that, China was well known for their human rights violations. And how do I know this? Because first of all, look up Ai Weiwei, like the Chinese artist / activist. Like, he documents very in detail what happens to you when you decide to criticize the government of China, and you live there, you're a citizen. So my parents would tell me all the time that growing up, like, you're American, you're not Chinese.
And you'd be like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like I look like this. I came from you.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Right.
They're like, you're American, you're not Chinese. And then you don't act Chinese, like, at all. And you just don't understand certain things because you grew up here. So I never really understood what they meant.
You would be like, oh, mom and dad, oh, lecturing me again about some stuff I don't understand. Yeah.
Until I went to China to visit my extended family who still lives there. Both in like mainland China, communist China.
Communist China. What kind of China?
Communist China.
Okay. Good. People know.
And I understood exactly what my parents meant. I have freedoms that my own extended family don't have.
Explain.
So they can't openly criticize the government, their government, because you'll just disappear one day.
And then when you told me that, I was like,
yeah, you didn't believe me.
What? What do you mean? And then you went on.
I was like, they torture you, and if you are never seen and heard of ever again, it basically means you're most likely dead, gone, you died. And your family would have never known what happened to you. They just disappear you. And so, I mean, I think even my parents who had, immigrated to America, had lived here for like long time by then, has assimilated a little bit and became like more Americanized, even though they grew up in China. So even they couldn't really relate to my extended family. And I remember hearing my parents, like, I think criticize our government, like America, for whatever reason, for whatever thing. And then my uncle, my extended family there, who are from there, they couldn't say a word. They were like shocked that we could do that.
Yeah. See, that's the power of the old freedom of speech.
And it's not that they don't want to.
Right.
Like, it's not like they don't clearly have problems with their own government. They just know what will happen to them
if they say anything.
Yeah. And so that's China. That's China before we realized they had concentration camps. And
many of the Chinese living here are simply just fleeing that shitty life that they used to live back there.
Yeah, people who are from mainland China, and like there's a lot of differences. Like Chinese Americans are like, I'm a Chinese American. I'm basically American.
Yeah.
Like, I know my eyes are slanty and everything, but like I can't call myself like fully Chinese because I don't think like that.
You do not like authority at all.
No.
You would be immediately thrown into a white van, and I won't be able to see you anymore.
Yeah. And so that's like brief history of China. That's what that is. Which is why a lot of people who are here from China don't usually have good things to say, or they won't say anything, but they don't like it there.
And it's something they just don't want to talk about.
Yeah, they just don't want to talk about it. So fast forward to Mulan.
Uh-oh.
Where right now China's encroaching on the freedom of Hong Kong, and like there was this whole free Hong Kong movement and like freedom of the press thing that is happening right now, and it's really upsetting to see the hypocrisy of so many things happening in Hollywood revolving the idea of human rights. Because sure, you want me to care about human rights that's happening in the United States. You want everyone to care about these things you really care about. You want Disney, you want Hollywood, you want all these celebrities and people to tell you exactly that they support your cause. Meanwhile, they're protecting their checkbooks by refusing to support Hong Kong. At the same time, like the main actress of Mulan is supportive of basically police brutality in Hong Kong, and like that's a thing. and that's like no one cares about that. And then that's not even the biggest news. Like, I'm hiding the lead here.
Everyone's like, oh, Janet said it. Everyone's freaking out right now, obviously.
In the credits of Mulan, they thank the officials, the propaganda officials that are in charge of the area, that is in charge of the concentration camps.
I'm going to read an article written on September 7th. Just a part of it. And in the beginning, it basically explains like, the basic reception, like on the surface of like, people seem to be enjoying Mulan for its like amazing, visual, whatever. But he goes on to write and says, but there's a dark side to those landscapes. Disney filmed Mulan in regions across China, among other locations. In the credits, Disney offers a special thanks to more than a dozen Chinese institutions that helped with the film. These include 4 Chinese Communist Party propaganda departments in the region of Xinjiang, as well as the Public Security Bureau of the city of Turpan in the same region, organizations that are facilitating crimes against humanity. It's sufficiently astonishing that it bears repeating. Disney has thanked 4 propaganda departments and a public security bureau in Xinjiang, a region in northwest China that is the site of one of the world's worst human rights abuses happening today.
And like, I know that's really hard.
And I know, what is that? Like, is that a Fox News bullshit? Is that like some sort of Fox News article? This is the Washington Post, guys. You know, good old democracy dies in darkness. Washington Post.
Yeah, and if you're too young to understand the gravity of what that means, it means they harvest organs. It means like crazy things happen in these camps.
And you told this to me when we lived in the apartment too. I couldn't believe you.
I knew about this before it suddenly became popular to talk about this.
Talk about this, right?
And it's just like, oh, okay, so you mean to say Disney will say all these like pretty words to like get you to think like, oh, we're on your side, whatever side you're on. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
They want your dollars regardless. And then they'll go and basically do anything to please China, to like, cause like guess what, Mulan tanked.
Oh, it tanked so hard.
It tanked. And, they didn't care that it tanked in America because they were betting. They were betting that the Chinese dollar was going to make up for the hundreds of millions of budget. Yeah, they'll say one thing to your face. Hollywood will. Because it's not like it matters to them whether they follow through on their promises or whatever. And then they'll go and do another. And they don't care. They don't care about what you want. They don't care about any of the complaints you have. They'll pretend like they do. They'll say all these pretty words, everything that you want to hear them say. And then you'll just slowly realize, oh, you're just placating me. You don't care about any of this. You just want money at the end of the day. Which is fine.
That's fine. It is what it is. But what's shocking to me is that we're allowing this to happen.
Yeah, and that, like, as much as people want to call me naive and stupid and feel superior over some random person they don't know on the internet, it's like I see people tell me like, oh yeah, Disney is a corporation, what did you expect? And then you continue to tweet complaints at Disney about how you want this, you want that, and they tell you, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, and you believe them. You believe their pretty words, and then you are shocked to find out that they don't care.
That reminds me of another example, the Star Wars poster.
Oh yeah.
So here is the U.S. Star Wars Force Awakens poster. Oh my gosh, look at how amazing this is. Didn't this get you so jazzed? Here's the Chinese one.
Spot the difference.
It shouldn't take you long at all, actually.
Shouldn't take you too long.
Yeah. There's that. Yeah. And now why is it that Disney and people who work in animation get to lecture us and lecture people about how, what we should think and what we should do and what we should say.
Especially when it doesn't.
When they just do that shit anyway.
Yeah. It's like.
And they allow that. They're fine with that. They're never going to say, and they're never going to. They know. Oh, they know.
Mm-hmm.
They know what. They know about this poster.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they going to do? They got to keep their jobs, don't they?
Yeah. I don't understand. It's like, oh, look at this girl talk about all this stuff. Oh, I don't believe her, whatever. Listen to John Boyega and all the celebrities that have ever said anything about what's his name, Ricky Gervais. Listen to Ricky Gervais and John Boyega. We all knew about Weinstein. We all knew about Kevin Spacey.
We all knew about John Lasseter.
Like, there are common open secrets in Hollywood, and if you like to pretend that you are an animation person, you're not part of this.
You're not part of the problem.
Oh. And yet, John Lasseter. And yet, there are a lot of people that, as a woman, we talk to other women, and they will warn you, hey, maybe don't go into this so-and-so's office alone. The fact that has to be a thing.
That needs to be said.
Period.
Seems like a problem.
Yeah, just, whether you know it or not, you are complicit. You look at the Emmys and all their really cringy, clips of just them trying to lecture you about all these things, and then you wonder, who are you to tell me anything just because you work in Hollywood? And there's so many clips from the Emmys that are like, oh, you are showing exactly how much of a elitist you are right now. You're literally just saying, I am a Hollywood producer and we're awesome. We're rich. Oh, God.
How are we doing? We're great.
We're great. We're having a party.
Time of our lives.
We're famous. Okay. So you're pretending to care about these things. You're pandering, and it's just so cringy at this point. No one wants to watch it.
Again, I get 6 million compared to what was that, 20 something?
Mm-hmm.
Not so long ago.
And then you have the really, really out of touch celebrities.
Like Madonna. And the milk bath video is very disturbing.
That came out during this time.
Gal Gadot corralling people to sing Imagine as if that would help anybody. I don't understand why they think these things are helpful.
Or Jesse Pinkman acting. Whatever that was, whatever that weird audition tape was, where oh, great audition tape. I can see you're acting though. So cringy and so out of touch that none of us want to watch that. None of us want to watch the Emmys and watch Hollywood die.
Because it's ugly.
It's really painful.
It's just, no. I'd rather be doing something else.
So, that said, they do that because they can. They do that because they don't care. They will, it doesn't affect them. These millionaires, these Hollywood producers, Hollywood in general, for the most part, anything they say does not affect them. It might affect other people, other normal people, but they can say whatever they want to say and then go on with their lives. Nothing will happen to them. And so they don't care. Disney doesn't care. Hollywood doesn't care. So they don't care about you, the audience.
They don't care about you.
They don't care about me, the laborer who makes the entertainment. Nor do they care about John Boyega,
who's just a pawn.
Who's a celebrity pawn.
Yeah, everybody.
In their game.
Why do you think the whole cast is so bitter? All of them, from Oscar Isaac, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega. Everyone's so bitter about that entire experience. They just don't want. They're just so sick of talking about it.
Yeah. So that begs the question: why are you still shilling for Hollywood?
Yeah, why?
The people who are still shilling for Hollywood, why? Because they're not doing anything for you. They're not giving you anything. They're not like, why? Oh, because you think just like we thought that you're gonna become famous. You're gonna be the next rock star of animation. You're like,
As if anyone gives a shit.
exactly, because does anyone care about these celebrities making those cringy videos and whatever statements?
Hollywood celebrities are already like, just, it's become a sport to like dunk on them.
Yeah.
What makes you think that you who just doodles for Hollywood isn't next?
Yeah. Like Hollywood celebritism, like they're on their way out. In my opinion, they're irrelevant at this
So
point.
things are changing.
Yes.
It seems.
Yes. Which, again, is why no one watched the Emmys. Is because, 10 years ago, getting an Emmy, being someone who was awarded an Emmy, used to mean something. And people who are still part of this game, this really, irrelevant game that they don't realize that people just don't care anymore, still think...
I'm an Emmy Award-winning screenwriter.
Yeah, in their bios.
In their bios.
In their YouTube videos, in their whatever.
So maybe instead of congratulating people, right? Because we're trying to hold people accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to. Instead of clapping our hands for, oh, you work at Netflix, or you work at Disney, why don't we just say, oh, thanks for reminding us in your bio that you support concentration camps? Or how about, oh, thanks for letting me know that you're totally okay with cuties.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know you work for the same company that is okay with cuties.
And it's like, why do you still do that, you guys? It's not gonna look good
No.
very soon.
Already. So what is popular now? If having an Emmy trophy thing is not
Is meaningless. Yeah.
What do people find value in now? Let me tell you. It's followers. And yes, in my opinion, both are equally empty, shallow, and vapid, and meaningless. What does it mean to have an Emmy? Not much. What does it mean to have 1 million followers? Not much. But
one is in vogue.
Yes.
And one is on its way out.
Yes. And whether you like it or not, followers and subscribers or people's perception of these things, if you have it, means something. Just like it used to be this stupid shiny trophy that is just a hunk of metal, used to be a symbol of something. Even though it really
history
it's nothing.
And the pedigree of your, the pinnacle of your art.
Like you are somebody,
Yeah,
you won
whoa.
an Emmy, or you are somebody, you have 1 million followers, whatever it is. And that is exactly why Hollywood celebrities are irrelevant. And the smartest ones they're
like Will Smith, for example.
Yeah.
He's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Black.
Mm-hmm.
On YouTube. I wonder why.
Yeah. The Rock.
The Rock. Yeah. He's great.
Yeah. And so they're starting to understand, okay,
If I am to last, this is what I need to do.
the rules of this game are changing. And I got successful for a reason. They were perceptive. So, yeah, that's why Hollywood and celebritism is dying. And this includes the artist celebrity that used to, get celebrity from because they worked at certain studios.
Let's take a moment. Let's just take a moment. Wasn't the past 10 years great? Wasn't the past 10 years of wasn't it great watching Disney come back to life and, make all of these movies and buy all of these studios and all of these services? Wasn't it great when we had those amazing rap parties? Weren't the rap parties great? They were wonderful. How about, the Animation Guild party? Oh my gosh, sucks that we have to pay for drinks again, or we have to pay for drinks, but man, wasn't that great? CTNs, all of those CTNs,
And Lightbox.
where we all pretended to, All of those CTNs where we, bought into this whole idea. That was awesome. It was so fun.
We had our
Shopping. Yeah, we had our time.
Yeah. And so, again, some of you who are maybe our age or older are like, you're full of bullshit.
No way.
No way.
Just like your coworkers at Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% without a doubt.
Oh,
They
yeah.
know. They know you were like, oh, shit. They're probably always saying, Jan was right. Jan was right.
I feel like that happens every month on accident. And like, I'm not someone to gloat and say I told you so a lot, but man, I sure am saying it a lot these days. But so let me put into perspective what that means. What that means is internet personalities and influencer types are more famous than these Hollywood celebrities.
No way. How could that be? How could you even possibly have data to measure that? Like people in Hollywood, everybody adores them.
Like, oh, yeah, they adore them. And, well, okay. So the Emmys got this year 6 million views.
Right. We talked about that.
Let me give you average numbers of what, like, some of the bigger YouTubers get
Uh-oh.
in one video. And they put out sometimes multiple a day. So Jeffree Star gets on average 10 million views a video. Not all the time, but a lot of times more than that. But on average. Charlie D'Amelio. If you do not know who this girl is, exactly.
Oh. Repeat after me. We are old now.
Yeah.
We are old now.
Yeah.
And the way we see things, the way we were like, oh yeah, Hollywood, that's always going to be like, there's going to be movie stars. There's always going to be Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston. Those are going to be like, the height, DiCaprio, the height of like stardom, Will Smith, fucking like Kate Blanchett, all these people that we adore. That's not how the young people are going to see the world.
No.
At all.
No. Like I'm not sure the young people know who some of the actors we just named are.
I do not think they care.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
And that's okay. It's
fine.
not their thing,
But yeah, technically we are like old people on the internet.
Surrender to that idea.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's fine because if you don't, you kind of look not so good on the internet.
We're not technically old, but in internet age, we're kind of like old.
Yeah.
So Charlie D'Amelio, she is new, and she gets on average also 10 million views per video, usually double that.
Oh my god.
Mr. Beast gets 30 million views. PewDiePie gets on average 6 million views per video, and that he makes like 3 videos a day. All these people got more views than the Emmys, and these are singular people, maybe with a little bit of a crew. The Emmys is supposed to be this big Hollywood production.
Right?
It looked like they had no production budget to make it. It was really cringy, and they didn't get even remotely the same kind of views these individuals get.
My gosh.
And that is why. So think about that for a second.
I'm sure they're really mad then at internet people.
Yeah.
Because they're stealing their thunder.
And also, like, think about it in a business perspective. As an advertiser, let's say you're like Coca-Cola. Let's say you sell soda. Where do you want to spend your advertising dollars? In front of the Emmys, where you barely get 6 million views and everyone is roasting it so hard? Or are you going to put it in front of Charlie D'Amelio? Are you going to reach the 30 million people that watch Mr. Beast?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So the money is going to go where the money wants to go.
So follow the money.
Follow the money, and capitalism always wins, which
Always.
is why I Like, regardless of whatever you think, my predictions haven't been wrong. So, yeah, Hollywood is not going to take this lying down, though.
No,
They
they're going to go
haven't
down
been.
kicking and screaming.
Yes.
And it's going to look ugly. If you thought the things that celebrities are doing now are ugly, because they're in denial right now. Everyone, even the people in animation, are in denial right now.
Yeah.
When they get to a point where they really understand how much people don't really, it's not the same as it's going to be before. They're going to do things that we don't want to see, I think.
Yeah. And, a smaller version of that you can probably see every single day is like the language people choose to use. The words that they hide their true feelings in.
What do you mean?
Like I said before in previous podcasts, that Hollywood types have a way of speaking where you have to read between the lines. And the only reason why I know this is because I know how to play this game too. I worked in it for 4 years. I just don't like to. So they already have written a lot of articles just trying to take down every kind of internet personality you can think of. In whatever thing that you care about. Fashion, video games, politics, news,
movies, sports.
Whatever it is, the Hollywood machine has written articles about these people to try to delegitimize them. But the people who like to watch them are gonna watch them. This is a losing battle.
Right.
But on a smaller scale, they'll use words like, oh, that vlogger, that YouTuber, that influencer.
Almost to like delegitimize and make them feel small. Like what they're doing that's not compared to what I'm doing. I work in Hollywood.
Yeah. I'm legitimized by this studio, or I'm so-and-so because I work at this studio, and I'm an actual actor. I'm an
actual screenwriter.
Yeah, I'm an actual director.
You just vlog.
What I love is, you just make videos in your bedroom.
Ooh.
Isn't that like crazy that I can do
you
that?
You make fantasy in a cubicle.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So yeah, they'll do that, but like I said, it's kind of a losing battle because this is inevitable. So if you haven't noticed, Hollywood has tried to fight it, and now they're trying to co-opt it. So they're hiring people from the internet to be actors and talk show hosts and all these, they're trying to become one, and they're like, oh, if we can't beat it, join it. But honestly, it just doesn't work that way for a lot of reasons.
It doesn't work. Look at Lily Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what happened? Actually, this is right now is the first time I thought about her in a very long time.
I'm sure she's fine.
Yeah, I'm sure she's fine, but it's just sometimes I wonder, maybe you should have just stayed. Maybe you had a good thing going.
Yeah, I didn't need her to have legitimize herself.
Yeah, by having like a late night show. So we talk about this all the time. The difference, because they're both big, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they both illustrate the kind of YouTubers there are.
Yeah.
So there's Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
His lots of great production value, very hip, very of the culture, as they say. Yeah. Very fun to watch. But there's Jack Black,
yeah,
who's shitty camera, scruffy beard. Doesn't look like he took a bath that day, but funny as hell.
Yeah.
So it's those two really figured out what it's all about. Mm-hmm. One is capitalizing on I'm of the now, and the other is just I'm a unique soul. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put myself on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
Person.
Yeah.
Look at me. I don't know why you would want to, but hey, why not?
but long gone are the days of DiCaprio and the Esquire cover actor. the Vogue actress, like, you know, it's
Yeah.
just like that's heading the way of the dodo.
Yeah. And so you're probably at this point we've been ranting about Hollywood sucks and it's dying and whatever. You're probably like, okay, how does this affect me? What does that that's I don't care. Because it doesn't affect me. You guys, I know a lot of you guys want to work in Hollywood, right? You at the very least are interested in this world, and you maybe, just maybe, you might be listening to us because you want to see if there are any alternatives at the very least. So learn a little bit more about art and business. What it means for you as someone who might potentially want to work in Hollywood, want to get a job doing art, period. And you want to go where the money is. You want to be able to put food on the table and live comfortably. Be a successful artist. It's one thing to be like an artist, but
like it's one thing to have 600 K on Instagram, but it's another to actually have checks coming in.
Yeah, to actually have to put money on the table and whatever. And it basically means how all of this affects you is as Hollywood is dying, there will be less jobs and less money in that industry. And where it will go is to the internet, to these different YouTubers, to different streaming platforms, to different things.
And maybe it's not that, but what you should pay attention to is where all that money goes next, right? All the money leaving Hollywood, if people are not, buying seats to theaters or watching all these TV shows, what are they doing with their time these days? Mm-hmm. Pay attention to that.
Yeah. And so what that means is the audience isn't going to pool anywhere anymore, I don't think. Like, there's not going to be one person or industry or whatever that has everyone's attention. It's all going to be pretty spread a little bit thinner. So what Hollywood's going to have to do, which, again, they're not going to be happy about, they're going to have to get used to less views. They're going to have to get used to less money. And what that translates to is if they're not making as much money, they can't invest as much in making TV shows, movies, all these things that affect everything down the line.
So I predict that I don't think the Disney thing, I don't think a company like that will reach that high. I thought Netflix was going to do it, but I don't think so anymore.
I didn't think so.
But I don't think there's going to be that monolithic company anymore. But the hope that I have for hopefully movie fans and the people who are still romantic and still have hope, the people who are still DTF with theaters, I want to say that, like, I'm sure a lot of you would agree that A24 is a fantastic production studio. They produce some, like, very rarely you can say about any Hollywood studio that, like, when they produce a movie, it's good. It's at least B or above. You can't say that a lot. Like, there's a lot of hit or misses with other companies. And I think what makes A24 special is, the artists they, collaborate with, they're very, like, open-minded. They're very artsy. There's like Ari Aster and the Safdie brothers. But I think that's going to happen in animation. I think we're going to see like some amazing stuff someday. Maybe in 2 or 3 years. Maybe in 2 or 3 years we're going to see something amazing. And, like, I hope it's going to be harkening back to, I hope, those, like, that Disney versus Pixar era. And it's because it's smaller now. There's less bureaucracy. There's less just, like, bullshit and, like, investors that we have to pander towards. That, I think, is like where I want to hopefully point all the other artists, my peers, that, like, all is not lost. If you really want to, you might make the next Toy Story at this place. Yeah. But you have to pay attention to these smaller studios. So do you have any that you want to share? Or at least one? You talked to me about one.
So I recently saw that Don Bluth came back and made a studio, a new startup. And obviously there's like Taco House and a bunch of other smaller ones starting up, I think, in the Bay Area. And in general, there are this is so funny because I made this prediction literally a few episodes ago, where I said, I think maybe in the Streaming Wars
You're right.
episode or something like that, where I said, like, honestly, I don't think any of these streaming services are going to be top dog,
Right.
even though everyone thinks it's Netflix or whatever.
Everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Whatever side of the superficial team battle that you're on, it's meaningless because none of them are going to be a thing. But like, who's going to be on top then?
No one. I think it'll just be a like the viewership will be so like, do you like this or do you like this? Do you like, everyone's an individual and they choose whatever it is they like, whatever they gravitate to. And you're gonna start seeing like a lot of smaller studios pop up because of that. Because like, if like, what's stopping smaller creators coming together and making something great without Disney, without DreamWorks, without these things, because the attention is there.
And we have the technology to do it fast.
Yeah.
You know, we figured out or have an idea of how to work separately from each other too. So you can just like recruit your friends. Maybe one's living in Middle America, one's living in the East Coast, but one's living in another country, but it doesn't matter. You could still make something.
Yeah.
And like, we want to watch it.
Yeah.
So please, like, it's over Hollywood, but the people still there. Now's your chance, guys.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. So let's like bring it back to the beginning of this podcast, where we talked about our teachers and them warning us about how print media was dying. And it's not like magazines went away.
No.
It's not like there aren't illustrators that work in editorial illustration and they still make illustrations for magazines and publications and this kind of thing. Just like how the radio didn't go away completely.
Just how even vinyl is still a thing.
Yeah.
And I believe that theaters are still going to be a thing.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be Avatar anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be like that anymore. It's not going to be like the first Avengers or the Dark Knight Rises or something like that. Like these big things that we all gather towards, as much as that breaks my heart because I'm like a big old theater fan. I think us theater fans are going to be pretty soon seen to be like people who collect vinyl.
As our teachers like to tell us, that whatever industry that's really hot in whatever decade you are working in, it might not last forever, and you need, contingency plans. And that doesn't mean that whatever industry is like gone forever. Like, it's not like print media went anywhere. It's just fewer people have jobs in that industry because there are less jobs, less money, because less advertisers are there, because advertisers are going to go where the attention is. And if not, like, how many people still read? Which is why we read Audible ads and why people have YouTube. Like, there's not too many people that still read magazines, so advertisers aren't gunning to put thousands of dollars into these magazines or this newspaper or whatever. So there's less money to pay for illustrators. The money went to Hollywood, and now the money eventually, in my opinion, will go to a lot of different places, not just Hollywood. And honestly, I think Hollywood is dying. It's on its way out. In the next few years, it's going to be slow. It's not like print media died really, really fast, but you can kind of see similarities, and you can see the signs, and you can predict this, history always repeats itself. So just like the people who clinged desperately to print media and advertising and all that stuff, it became really hard for them if they didn't jump ship right when everyone was jumping ship, right at the beginning. You people have to kind of make their bets. Do you think that magazines are gonna be forever, or are you gonna take a risk, a chance with this whole animation thing, even though it's not popular? Nothing's ever popular at the beginning, but are you gonna try and see? And the ones that, like we said, jump ship early, they got paid more, in my opinion. They got the more benefits came their way earlier.
Are not, this generation of animation people are not paid nearly as much as
No, comparatively.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
as the old school people.
Yeah, like, if, let's say, we're paid the same amount as they were getting paid decades ago,
Adjusted
that
for
money,
inflation.
yeah, adjusted for inflation, that money back then could do a lot. The money today, not so much, comparatively. And so, like, you know, the early bird gets the worm. Everyone knows that the people that got into YouTube early, look at where they are now. Look at how much money they've made. And honestly, this is still the early phases of that. Like, people think, YouTube's oversaturated, whatever.
We had this conversation a while ago, I think 2 years ago. We were like, oh, there's so many people on YouTube, but it's so interesting how the art niche isn't even at critical mass yet. It felt like the beauty YouTube thing was out of control. Still, the guitar community is out of control. There's so many musicians trying to teach people how to play guitar. There's so much oversaturation in all sorts of departments, but I always thought, like, why aren't there more YouTube people? And still, with the amount of you people, with the amount of YouTube people out now, it's nothing compared to beauty influencers and things like that.
Yeah, and there's still so much room.
There's still so much room.
Still so
There's
much room. So I think it's defeatist to say, I didn't get in right when, people who were smart and perceptive and were willing to take a chance got in. I can't. I'm just gonna not even try. Even when, like, we're still at the very, very beginning phases of all of this transition, because still Hollywood's pretty big right now in terms of, like, public perception, even
Right.
though it's waning. So as it dies and this other thing grows, where will you be? Like, I'm talking now to you, the audience member. What are you going to do? What are you going to bet on? Because, as we saw before, it's kind of really important. It's kind of like a big deal of where you want to lay your chips. And it's the difference between, are you someone who is scared of change? Who, like, you'll be stuck in disbelief and denial for as long as you possibly, and those people exist. Like, our teachers told us stories about how those people existed for print media, for advertising. Or are you someone who is willing to take a chance, who is willing to accept that times are a-changing, and you either make lemons out of lemonade, or you cling to
The tree.
Yeah, you cling to something that's decaying,
Right.
turning to dust. So, you gotta pick. You guys kind of gotta pick. And the thing about all of this is that it should be really hopeful.
Yeah. What I think, if we make it out of all of this alive, which I'm sure we will, I think we will be fine. There could be amazing things.
Yeah.
Right over this hill. I think people are just inspired to, I don't know. I think this whole experience has opened people's eyes to their own mortality.
Yeah.
And they want to do something worth it, actually worth it, instead of wasting away in the job they don't really like.
Yeah. And the reason why I think I look at this with a really hopeful lens is because what does that mean? Hollywood, a lot of these things, I've talked about and ranted about time and time again about how there's a lot of elitism and gatekeeping around Hollywood. That's what makes the allure of Hollywood so enticing. Like, you want to be part of the in group. You whether you acknowledge it or not, you look at these people who are part of this industry a little bit differently. Like, you think they're special, or they have something that you don't, which honestly is a little bit of an illusion. But this thing, this YouTube thing, this social media thing, this influencer thing, anyone can do this. Anyone can decide, like, I'm going to figure out how to make my own channel, to make...
PewDiePie is just a dude.
He's just a guy.
Dr. Disrespects is just a guy.
Yeah.
Best Dressed Channel is just some girl. Like, they're not, like, from Hollywood royalty, or their parents aren't politicians or anything like that. These are just, like, regular people, just like you and me.
Yeah, you didn't need to know someone who knows someone to get in.
Right. They just do, and they become what they are.
Yeah.
And I actually think it's very merit-based, you know?
Yeah.
Watching someone like Best Dressed Channel come up.
Yeah.
You can't say she didn't put in the work.
Like, there will be a lot of people who think that social media is some kind of luck-based game where, like, oh, you either hit it big, you're beautiful, or you're for some reason really, really interesting, and that's why they're famous. That's why they're rich or whatever, which in some cases might be true. But I don't think the people who think that have done their research, because the internet is a really giant place, and you'd be surprised how many people have 100,000 subscribers. How many people, like...
You'll be surprised that this controversial thing that happened in this hemisphere of the internet, just barely people haven't even heard about it in this other side of the internet.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Because it feels like when things come out like that, you think everybody knows, but no, it's kind of just like a very small. It's like an island, and then everybody has their own island.
Yeah, which is kind
it's like
of
Animal
great.
Crossing.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's kind of great because no one's telling you can't have your own island.
Right.
Like, you can definitely make your own island. And, like, for example, I was, like, watching, like, some, like, Jenna Marbles retirement / apology video. And then a lot of people naturally made response videos and reaction videos. And there are a lot of people covering it, including news people who normally don't cover internet news because it's not news. And I was so surprised to read in the comments how many people were like, I've never heard of her. And I was like, what? Wow. Jenna Marbles is like OG YouTube. And like at this point, YouTube has been around for long enough where we're starting to see retirements, which is hilarious.
And what's great is that they retire young, which means that they are probably good.
They're fine.
They're going to be fine.
They have made their retirement 10 times over.
I'm sure.
And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting how, like, if you're just not part of that world, you just don't care and you don't know, even though this person is legitimately more famous than a lot of celebrities at this point, which I thought was like, oh, that's, I mean, in a way, shocking and amazing. And so, like, anyone can do it. And it's about, are you going to do it now? Because if you've
timing is everything with this type of thing. Like, the people who waited to jump ship from print media to animation, the ones who did it the earliest reaped the most benefits. The one who clinged on to what they thought was going to be a thing, when they let's say they did jump ship, it was too late.
Yeah, or it
was a lot harder.
Yeah.
For example, if you were thinking about doing the YouTube thing, you would say that it's going to be a lot harder next year, and it's going to be twice as hard the year after that. It's going to be harder and harder and harder and harder every year. You can't, like, if you're thinking about doing it, you might as well do it, because every second you don't do it, the thing that you want to do gets harder and harder to do.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is starting to think about it too.
Mm-hmm. And as you spend time thinking about it, instead of taking action and actually doing something, someone is going to
do it.
And then you just lost a little bit of a head start. and then you like question even more, and then just do it. Just try. Just you can't figure it out until you've figured like you started.
Right.
And it's also like, again, I do a lot of I do a lot of research, and almost every week I discover a new channel or a new niche or a
me
new
too.
whatever.
Oh, we just discovered Andrew Huang, who's this incredible musician, amazing music studio, but most of all, great personality, obviously very talented, amazing production value.
Very smart.
Very smart person.
Very like just.
And it's that type of stuff. I'm just like, you animation people, think you're fucking rock stars? This is a rock star. That's the fucking guy. He like fucking is killing it.
Yeah.
That is someone I'm like, whoa, you have like 10 billion times more talent than me, and I can humbly say that. That's okay. But like the way these people act, it's like they can do that type of thing, and he does no problem. Yeah, right. That dude is talented. Like, my goodness.
I'm constantly feeling that way. Just humbled every week.
Every time.
Every single week.
Every time. When the good old days, like when TikTok was, as weird as this sounds, like just more fun. Yeah, when TikTok was more fun, we were shocked at just simply how much talent there was in the world. And it was not just simply drawing.
Yeah.
It's music, it's acting, it's performing, it's being able to toss a golf ball into a cup down the stairs, like
kind
just
of
like
strange talent.
Yeah, your strange talents. That's like, it was just like the biggest talent show ever. And it's just like those experiences really helped me, who lives, and like if like people worked in the job that I work, they'd probably be like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But like I look at other people and I go, no, what you're doing is so much more fucking amazing than what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is pretty amazing, but what you perform music for, you stream your DJ set or something like that, or you have your own cooking channel, or you said there's this old lady, like older lady in her 60s who's a YouTube influencer or something.
Who's a beauty influencer.
Yeah.
So like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there are a lot of average, everyday people who are starting YouTube channels who have, like, you don't even really need 100,000 subscribers, followers on Instagram, whatever, to be making a decent living using the internet. Like, I don't love making this analogy, but like, this pie is really big. And all you need is a tiny, tiny slice of it, enough to live, enough to feed your family, to do whatever. So you see people like Jenna Marbles and all these OG YouTubers have like really cashed in. And you might think, if you have less expectations of yourself, or you think that I could never get 1 million. You don't need 1 million.
Yeah.
You don't even need anywhere close to 1 million. There are, like, day after day, I see people who are on YouTube who make a living off of YouTube, whether they have 100,000 or whatever. Maybe you think, I can't even get to 100,000. You don't even need that. You only truly need 1,000 true fans. Like, if 1,000 people bought your this, you're that, or supported you when you do this, like, that's enough. Like, what is your number? Like, think about, if you could make a certain number to be okay every single year, what is that? And maybe you're young and you haven't done the math, you haven't lived enough life to know, but like, there's a clear point of like, you have enough money to live. Any more doesn't improve your life all that much. You might be able to buy a new car. You technically don't need that. Like, at a certain point, there's actually statistics and articles written about this. Usually, for most Americans, around $70,000 to $80,000 a year. Once you reach that threshold, any more than that is just nice. It's just nice to have. Of course, if you the more money you make, the more I think people have lifestyle inflation, which means like, so, because I make X amount of money, I need like a Lamborghini. I need
to
a
go to
mansion.
Equinox.
Yeah. I need these things, but like technically around that number, more or less money is not going to improve your life all that much. So think about what is your number, and you can reverse engineer like what is the minimum you need to do and make, and followers, subscribers, whatever it is. You can kind of figure out, oh, that number, the number of subscribers I need to achieve this goal, this like monetary money goal, the amount of whatever it is that you need to make like a social media life like fruitful, probably is less than you think it is. It's probably not like you probably don't need like $1 million. You probably don't need what X or whatever. You just gotta be smart about how you go about doing it. And like I said, there's like I forget her age, and I hope I'm not being rude by saying like she's probably like in her 60s or whatever, but I think she was like scared that no one would want to watch her because she wanted to do like makeup. She wanted to make a beauty channel, but for people older. Because you always see like 20-something, like barely 20-something year olds, like prime of their youth, beautiful girls, starting beauty channels, fashion channels, and you go like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not that beautiful. But like, you don't know how many people out there are exactly like you, who want to watch someone like you. Not the tiny little 18-year-old or whatever. They want to watch you, the 60-year-old woman who knows how to do makeup or fashion for a 60-year-old woman.
And other ladies can relate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I think, I mean, even for us, I've encountered, like, people even our age, like, complaining about how they don't understand social media. They don't know how to do this. And obviously, the older you get, the more you feel that way. But it's like, we didn't know how to drive at a certain point. Like, we didn't know how to do certain things. Doesn't mean this isn't a skill that you can't learn. Like, it's very doable. And every single day I'm seeing like extremely talented people coming up, whether they're like only have a few thousand subscribers or 10,000. I kind of know when I see it that even when they're small, that
you're gonna be something.
Yeah, you're just coming up, but like you're really talented. Yeah. You make me feel like
I need to work harder.
Like I need to work hard. Yeah. So it's doable. Anyone can do it. And like I want to watch lots of different types of people's content that I couldn't possibly imagine what your life is like. Whether it's like you're just vlogging your everyday normal Joe life.
What are you up to? Yeah,
like maybe people want that. You don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be a hopeful thing. And it's hard if you have no idea what you're doing.
And it's okay if you kind of just want to stay in animation.
Yeah, just know that that's in the future.
Yeah.
That, like, in a few years, I don't think the Hollywood industry will be as healthy. I mean, it already isn't. If you look around.
Here's the stocks for Disney, and here's the stocks for Netflix. Not so good. Not so good. Disney, it's not just the movies. It's not just the animated movie that's ESPN. It's the theme parks. They're in trouble. Disney's across the board.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have picked a better year to quit DuckTales than this year. Like, really, truly. And it looks like you planned it too, which is pretty amazing. How were we supposed to know any of this? Yeah. Like, we thought we were crazy for believing these things. Honestly, we did, because everyone like you share these opinions to people back then. They're like, "You're insane.
crazy.
You're
Yeah.
insane."
I'm like, no, I see it. I know you guys can't see it yet, but I see it. And I wonder if they think about some of the crazy things I've said and predicted, and they're like,
Oh shit!
why
It's the thing that she said
every time?
in Monday, and it's happening on TV.
I feel like I just get lucky, like really.
I really
lucky.
think you just get it. Really, as your partner, as someone who's just truly, there's no plan. We're not like some secret organization. We don't have like our tendrils and secret spies. We just are making the best, most well-researched guesses that we can, and then most of the day you're playing Animal Crossing and I'm just chilling, like playing guitar, and then that's like it. That's it.
I always thought that artists are supposed to be the most observant class of people.
And they are. Remember when we were, I'm not sure if I shared this already, but like we were at a thing. I forgot what these, like a group of ladies came and they were like, oh, hey, we want to work in animation and all this stuff. And then they asked me something. And I gave the old canned bullshit animation.
Typical Hollywood answer, lie to them.
Yeah.
Make yourself look good.
Yeah.
Not actually saying any advice.
Exactly. But they weren't having it.
They were
not like they weren't like, it wasn't like when I was being told these things by some other industry person. I was like, oh yes, I believe everything you say. They were like, but then they asked you and you gave a more honest response, and then they straight up said, to shade me, thank you for your openness and honesty. And then I was just like, this isn't working anymore, is it? This Hollywood bullshit.
It was very...
People are figuring it out, and like people, I think, especially young people, especially people who are paying attention, they do not have any patience for bullshit right now. If you fake, if you have any like, if you smell fake, people fucking hate you in this era because they're so sick of fakeness. They want somebody to like relate to.
Yeah.
They don't want to see this manicured version of yourself that you want to show. That's such a very our generation thing to do. The young kids know that like it's in the flaws that makes people fall in love with you.
It's so like I can talk forever about YouTube and Instagram and social media and the algorithm, and I can give you so many tips on how to succeed and how to crack this code of the algorithm and all this stuff, which it's in the works, you guys. It's in the works. But one of the main observations that I like to look at, because I've been looking at YouTube since I was maybe in since YouTube was a thing. I've always been like laser focused on this thing. I used to love like YouTube musicians.
You wanted to be a YouTube musician.
At one point, yeah.
At one point, yeah.
I used to...
And honestly, if you started at that time,
I probably would have.
You would have made it. You would have
I'm
probably
very,
made
like,
something.
Not good at singing or music or anything, but
But like, I don't know, all these early adopters of YouTube really, even though they didn't start off what they are now, they made something of themselves, it seems.
Yeah, so you look at them, and there's a clear generational difference between the YouTube we grew up with and the YouTube that the younger people are growing up with now. And if you haven't been paying attention for this long, you don't quite understand. So it's about this whole realness thing and this whole like image thing. And unless you've really done like a deep dive into TikTok and really try to be observant about what the youth, what the young people are interested in, I don't think you would be aware. And I think it's really difficult for as you age to be aware unless you are intentionally trying to be observant. And I always thought that like artists should be the most observant types of people. I remember, so like maybe one day I'll go into like our like origin stories, maybe about how maybe we should talk about like one day people who struggle with like people not supporting them in what they want to do.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. More like a moral support podcast. Like, I know you want to do this art thing, and everyone is like, "You're not gonna make it."
Yeah.
type of thing. I see.
Or,
I see.
like how different people grow up.
Right.
And for me, I didn't have very much support.
Right.
Period. That's like saying it lightly, and it's a story for another time. But I remember my family doctor, when I was like in high school, maybe I had decided I wanted to pursue art as a career. He asked me what I wanted to do, and I think I answered honestly, without any shame, or because I was like, I'm gonna be a successful artist one day. My parents obviously did not feel the same way, and like I could see and like feel. I think my mom cringing, just like he told the doctor that, and he was kind of like, oh, interesting, like really kind of like into it, and he was like, artists are like the most intelligent people because like they're the most observant. They're the ones that are actually paying attention to the world and looking up and looking at things. And I don't know why I feel like that has changed.
That's gone the way of the dodo, it seems. Yeah.
Because it seems like we said, we talk about how like why is it that like every other niche, like beauty or whatever, gaming, seems so saturated, and yet you look at the art niche and it seems like
No, it's like crickets.
yeah, comparatively.
Yeah.
And I go like I've seen enough to be to realize that for some reason these days artists are the last ones for them to realize things, for them to take up social media, for them to start YouTube, for them to certain trends and like.
I thought we were trailblazers.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I felt. The pride in being an artist. What I
I do
wanted.
not have that right now.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, nope,
I do
no,
not.
No, I don't. Yeah.
So, I want that again. I want artists to like pave their own path and to be brave enough to do it and to make a name for themselves and to be individuals and not just an employee for a corporate company that does not care about you or you or you or you. No matter what side, no matter what you believe in, they do not care about you.
It isn't about sides for them. It's about what do I have to say in order for you to be a part of my market share.
Yeah, for you to pay me.
Right.
Give me your money.
Yeah. Build your island.
Yes, build your island.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't care.
Yeah. Quick recommendation. Quick recommendation though. All this talk about Hong Kong, I thought it would be great to recommend Wong Kar-wai. Fantastic Hong Kong director. There's so many. There's John Woo. There's so many great directors
From Hong Kong.
from Hong Kong. And I don't know. I just feel like Wong is in the mood for love, especially it's amazing. It's just simply amazing. The colors, the shots, the tempo of the movie. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to explain it.
if you've watched The Farewell recently,
A lot of that mise-en-scène.
yeah,
Right.
it's basically taking sometimes exact shots from that movie. So I would highly recommend you watch both.
Yeah,
Watch
both fantastic.
in the Mood for Love and then Farewell, or if you've already watched.
Makes for a great
Farewell,
double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd start with in the Mood for Love first because it's darker,
Yeah.
sadder. Yeah,
It's beautiful.
that's a beautiful movie.
It is a beautiful movie. And the shot choices are really interesting. It's really different. And he does a few things that I think he's like one of the first to do certain things, like to do certain editing things and to imply that things are happening off screen, which it should be used more often. It's such a great
device.
Technique of like, instead of showing so obviously what is happening, which wouldn't be as strong of a storytelling, it wouldn't stick with you. It doesn't mean as much. You either cut away or you show something else in a way that means more. And it's something that happens a lot, I think, in comics. It's something that happens a lot in a lot of like foreign cinema, because the way stories are told is a slightly different. But I know like Scorsese has taken that technique from like Hitchcock, for example, but like it's done a little bit differently here in The Mood for Love. Just it's a little bit of a slower movie too, so like just like relax, enjoy it.
Check out our store. Check out our fight shirt over here.
I'm currently wearing the fight shirt. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com where you can buy our merch. Make sure to smash the like button if you haven't already. Check out our playlist of other podcasts if you want to listen.
How many episodes is this?
32 more other ones, I think.
Oh, we have quite the playlist.
Yeah, you can binge them if you want. And I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.